Chandramouli ma'am and Gaurav Mohanty sir. So we have Panchame Mannu Ukil ma'am as the moderator, who is currently serving as the Vice Chairperson of the DN Wisdom Tree Global School, Bhubaneswar, and founder of the Bhubaneswar Bird Walks and Song of the Wild, an education innovator awarded by Education World and Education Today. She has introduced a transformative finishing school program, climate curriculum and culture curriculum for K-12 learners, integrating the Indian knowledge system with modern pedagogy. A gold medalist in economics from Utkal University, she is also a noted bird watcher, wildlife photographer and conservationist. Honored with Sanctuary Wildlife Award 2022, she has authored acclaimed books on Jagannath culture and Mangaljodi wetlands and speak widely on education ecology. May I humbly request ma'am to kindly come up on the dais. Thank you, ma'am. As panelist, we have Sunita Pant Bansal ma'am, who is renowned mythologist, storyteller and author with a career spanning over 4 decades. Former president of the Institute of Indology, she has led major publishing houses and collaborated with Walt Disney, Warner Bros., Pearson and leading Indian media groups. Author of over 50 books, including the best-selling Everyday Gita, she is celebrated for reinterpreting epics and scriptures for contemporary readers. Her children's books, rooted in folk and classical wisdom, have been translated globally. Recipient of the Alek Women Achievers Award in 2024 and Bhageshwari Samman 2025, she currently serves as the director of the Almora Literature Festival. May I request ma'am to kindly come up on the dais. Next panelist we have is Anuja Chandramouli ma'am, who is the best-selling author and New Age Indian classicist, widely regarded as one of the finest writers in mythology, historical fictions and fantasy. Her debut novel, Arjuna, the saga of Pandava warrior prince, was named one of the top 5 sellers by Amazon India 2012. Her book, Mohini the Enchantress, won the J.K. Papers and Times of India Popular Choice Author Award in 2021. Her books are also available as audiobooks and have been translated into Hindi. Her latest book is The Wife of the Dancing Girl, a brave revisionist take on the Tamil classic Silapatikaram. She is also a trained Bharatnatyam dancer. May I request ma'am to kindly come up on the dais. Next panelist we have is Gaurav Mohanty sir. Gaurav Mohanty sir is a gold medalist from Symbiosis Law School, Pune. He delights as a lover, moonlights as a comic, and delights as a storyteller. A connoisseur of mythologies, momos, and Machiavelli, he is the author of USA and Russia bestseller, The Sons of Darkness, hailed as India's first green dark fantasy novel and described by the San Francisco Book Review as a world where the Mahabharata meets the Game of Thrones. May I request sir to kindly come up on the dais. Now, I would like to request my friends to kindly present a token of appreciation. Before we begin, let's give a huge round of applause for all our moderator and panelists. So I request Panchami ma'am to kindly take forward the session. Ma'am, please.
Jai Jagannath, Namaskar, and a very good morning. A very warm welcome to this special session on myth, magic and machine, where we will be exploring how tradition will emerge in the age of AI. I would first like to thank the organizers of SOA Literary Festival for facilitating this discussion, especially Dr. Gayatri Bala Panda. I would also like to thank the esteemed panelists for being here to enlighten us on this very interesting theme. Myth, magic, and machine. Reimagining tradition in the age of AI. This topic stands at the precise intersection, a thrilling yet very unsettling intersection of the past and the future. As children raised in Indian homes, we have been fed with a generous diet of mythology. Grandparents, parents, elders, and caretakers were the best storytellers in our lives, and we had access to the rich repertoire of Indian mythology through them. We listened to the stories, we loved the characters, we loved the plots, we imagined the situations, but somehow we never felt the need to reimagine. So my first question to the panelists is, why mythology? We'll start with Anuja.
So the simple answer, the uncomplicated version is that mythology is like Garka Kana, especially in Indian mythology, because we've been raised on these stories. Just like breast milk, it was a part of our earliest memories, a very wholesome diet for us, and it comes with a certain sense of love and pride in our Indian identity, you know, connecting us to our roots in a very non-moral science class way, because if they're trying to lecture us and give us advice about this inherited treasure trove, children will be put off. But if you use stories to convey ancient wisdom, it becomes entertainment as well as education, and it's a beautiful tradition that we have. And I think because I was addicted to these stories growing up, so I think I just wanted to be part of India's tradition of storytelling, because as a history buff, I couldn't help but notice that there are some entire civilizations in other parts of the world which were torn out by the roots, completely destroyed, whether when we're talking about the Aztec or the Inca or the Maya. They were also victims of foreign invaders, and they lost so much more than can be imagined. Whereas Indian mythology survived. And I feel it's because we care so much, we are so passionate about these stories, and it wasn't just set in stone. It's part of our memories, it's passed on from generation to generation, and at some level, these stories have been a part of my life, and I can't imagine life without the stories and the myth and the magic.
Okay, Sunita.
The same thing, I'll agree with you and as well as you. And for me, I grew up in an environment where my dadi would tell me stories, and the stories were not like stories, but she would be doing a puja and talk about the various gods and goddesses in a way that made me feel that they were my extended family. So for me, mythology never meant gods and goddesses. They were like a huge, a vast, extended family that I haven't met as yet, and I will meet when I get older. So I grew up like that. And so I kind of, it came into my blood. I think I carry my grandmother's genes, and I became a storyteller like her. And the way she simplified everything and showed the relationship between, say, Shiv and Parvati, both having a fight and Parvati going to her Mayaka, it was so relatable, She made everything so relatable and so human. So it was, something very natural for me to imbibe and to carry forward. So it's the most natural thing that comes to me. It's extremely organic.
Thank you, Gaurav. Why mythology?
Firstly, compliments to the audience here for coming here on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. I know some of you were forced, some of you were curious, and some of you are courageous. And I think that is what drew me first to mythology, because in addition to the answers which were provided by my kind panelists here, it also gave us India's first superheroes. right? Before Marvel, before Thor, before Iron Man, it was Karna for me. You know, Karna fighting Arjun on that battlefield, that doomed hero that really reached out to me as a kid when my grandmother, my Jejama, passed on these stories as heirlooms, right? She was not sticking to the exact scripture. She was reimagining the story in her own light because that's what must have been told to her by her father or by her mother. So I feel that these stories have become malleable over the course of time as they have been passed down. And when they reach to me, my grandmother encouraged me to ask questions, right? Because mythology, is, unlike history, is something which is not made of marble, but a clay statue, which you can mold as per what thoughts you have. You know, the questions about, did Dronacharya do something wrong when he asked Eklavya to cut off his thumb? And if he did, then why is the award for the best coach in India called the Dronacharya Award? You know, these are questions and food for thought which were raised because of the stories which my grandmother fed me, and I've always grown up with them. And they were the Amar Chitra Katha of my times, you know, and I think that's why mythology has always been something which I have been very close to growing up.
That's wonderful, like, which brings me to my thought about, does retelling dilute the essence in some way? That's something that I, as an avid listener and a reader of mythological stories, somehow in my generation, we never felt the need to retell. But as Gaurav says, why are the awards called the Dronacharya Awards? So is it to cater to a more thinking generation, to a more curious generation, a generation that asks many questions, unlike my generation where we said, okay, fine, this is the story and we're okay with it. So I'd like to ask all three of you, why the need to retell our mythology? We'll start with Gaurav and then...
I felt the need to rewrite the story the same reason why Tulsidas might have felt to write Ramcharitramanas. You know, technically that was a rewriting of the Ramayana he knew. But just to get to the core academics of it, you know, mythology versus history, there's always this debate which we see on TV. Mythology is an accumulation of the debris of history, the imagination of our ancestors, plus the thinking of the civilization then, the philosophy which existed then. When Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni writes Palace of Illusion, she's writing it from the perspective of Draupadi, giving agency to a character who might otherwise have been a footnote in the annals of time. Right? That's what mythology is. It's a river that flows where we all add our civilization, our thoughts, our ideas into it. Because you see, mythology especially in an Indian context, is called Itihasa, which means a list of historical events. Right? What we get to do as mythological DJs, you know, when we're remixing these stories, is put a spotlight on characters who'd otherwise be in the shadows or in the footnotes. When I write Sons of Darkness, for example, on the cover you have Satyabhama. You know, everyone knows Krishna and Rukmini, everyone knows Krishna and Radha. Not a lot of people know that Satyabhama is probably the only mortal woman who fought a demon single-handedly using a sword. Right? She's mortal. Obviously you have Ma Durga, who's the goddess of war, but you don't really have mortal women fighting in our mythology, as compared to our history where you have Rani Lakshmi Bai, Rani Durgavati. So I think these kind of stories allow us to tell a different side to a thing which we all wanted to know. What does Shakuni think? What's going on in his mind? You know, what is this gangs of Vasipur plots that he's planning to bring down the gurus? So I feel that when we are retelling these stories, we kind of get a chance to fill in the blanks which have been left by time. Especially because no one really knows what the original Mahabharata written by Vedvyas is. So what are we really diluting? I feel we are adding to this river, which just will keep flowing. I'm sure 50 years down the line, people will still be adding to this river and will keep flowing into the sea which we have of all the wonderful retelling that exist.
Point noted. With respect.
No, I agree. We are not diluting at all. Because when we are retelling, we are actually simplifying it and talking in the language of the readers. And by the way, the entire mythology was in oral tradition. It was being retold over and over again. And nobody asked them, why are you retelling and are you diluting? Nobody asked that question then. Now people are questioning us. But no, it's the same thing that is being repeated. We are retelling because we are speaking in the same language as the readers. And so we are able to get through to them. So we are not diluting at all. I think we are actually, as he says, putting the spotlight on mythology, on certain characters, certain incidents, for people to go and explore further. I think we're doing a good job.
Do we need retellings? What is the need? What is the relevance? Do we need it? I would say yes, for a very simple reason. For the longest time, though myth and the stories themselves are neutral, they are subject to interpretation. And we all know that at one point, women and the oppressed weren't exactly encouraged to stand up and speak up. So let me tell you this very infamous story from the Ramayana, where you have a character named Shrilavati who had a disabled husband. And she devoted her entire existence to caring for him, and that included carrying him on her shoulder when he wished to visit a prostitute. Okay? And since this disabled dude was in a hurry, he kicked her. He kept kicking her, and then she placed him gently on the ground to massage his feet, because they were probably hurting from kicking her, right? And this dude gets cursed by a sage for obvious reasons, because this is horrendous behavior to say the least, and he's cursed with death by sunrise. And immediately this woman is so virtuous, she says, if I've been a virtuous woman, then the sun will not rise on the morrow. Okay? And this is held out as an example for how an ideal wife should be. These are the stories we are raised on, about these impossibly high expectations from women. Whether your husband beats you or kills you, he's still your husband. And we all know there are real world ramifications to these stories. Even something like the Agni Pariksha, we debate and debate and debate about the rights and wrongs of it, and yet the traditionalists would swear that Sita was spared the flames because she was pure. But in the real world, fire does not discriminate between good, bad, ugly, the young, the old, children. It doesn't care. You burn, and women have burned for centuries on the flames of the male ego out here, you know, to prove your purity, your honor. And that is why we need to reclaim the narrative as women. We need to give the women, the powerful women which Gaurav mentioned. He talked about Satyabhama. Such an amazing character, a warrior. We need to give these women their voices back, because they were always there. And we just need to highlight it. And see, the thing is, I mentioned that this is an inherited treasure for us. So as long as we respect the material, and as long as we are committed to, capturing the essence of it, I feel it's not diluted. It just keeps growing, evolving, and, as per the needs of the age. It's a living organism, and it's like a typical romance, It can be beautiful, it can be the best thing that happened to you, or it can be toxic.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we have to come to AI. We all know how AI has taken over our lives in many ways. Would you, as writers, take AI as an ally in the process of writing? Or do you think AI will dilute your essence? I'd like to ask all three of you this question. You can start from here.
I think AI, the quote on fire applies to AI a lot. It can be an excellent servant, but a horrible master, right? What AI you can already see, Amish has come up with a recent book called The Cholas. And if you've seen the cover, it's the worst cover in the history of mankind, because it is an AI-generated cover. Right? You see that there's no human creativity that has gone in the cover, and that kind of reflects maybe on the writing that is inside. Similarly, you have a lot of AI writers who are coming into picture. Their stories which have come out have not stood the test of reviewers or readers, because they lack the soul that writers bring in. AI is like a calculator. You know how calculator revolutionized maths? AI can do that. It can reduce the grunt work, maybe give structure to your writing, definitely do proofreading, for example, right? But when you're writing stories, you are writing from your experience, a human experience. You're writing from the scars you have. You're writing from what you have observed, what your thoughts are, and that, at least so far, AI has not been able to replicate. And people who have been doing that, just lately, ma'am, I was approached by Jio Hotstar to do a branding for their show called Mahabharata AI, which has been completely generated by AI. At the same time, you have Netflix, which came out with a Mahabharata show, again anime, which actual writers and artists have created. The Netflix show has become a hit. It's called Kurukshetra. The Jio Hotstar, which Amitabh Bachchan himself is promoting, much to my surprise, has failed miserably, because it is completely AI generated. There is just no thought and life to that project, which is a clear example to show that when you try to make AI the charioteer, AI will not work as Krishna. AI will work as a chariot of that wheel. That's my thought, at least.
Will you use it as an ally? I just want to ask
I will
you.
use it as a proofreader, ma'am, for sure. Like wherever it can help, maybe create images of a world where to help me visualize as a tool, as someone who helps me, but never as an ally person because I don't think it's a collaborator or doesn't have the strength to be a collaborator yet.
You're right. AI at best is a tool, and why? Because AI is an avatar that humans created to solve their problems, and it should remain so. Use it to solve your problems like an assistant, because it doesn't have the experience that we have, the life's experience, the emotional intelligence, or the emotional experiences that we have from where we are writing. So it cannot give soul to anything at all. It's fed on data. It's fed on all the stuff that is being poured into it. It forms its algorithms. It has no emotion. It has no compassion, no empathy. So you actually cannot create anything. It kind of gives you a mix. It has a lot of material and creates a mix and gives it to you. But obviously, it's not actually creating anything, because for creation, you need something more than just that. And yesterday, if you all were there for Javed Akhtarji's session, this is what he said, that creation comes from the place where conscious and subconscious meet. There is a no man's land there from where creation happens. So that is what we do. AI can't do that at all. So it's a tool.
I will never use AI as an ally, and it's not only because I'm very tech unsavvy, as my husband and children keep cribbing about me. But see, I grew up reading Harry Potter, and there's this piece of advice which Ginny Weasley's father gives her, because she's having this very complicated relationship with the diary. And it leads to a lot of damage. And her father says, how many times have I told you, don't trust something if you can't see where it keeps its brain. So, see, I'm not against science and technology because I feel it's made the world better for all of us. I need my washing machine. I won't be able to survive without my Robocop. So, yes, these are, I feel, harmless gadgets which have actually improved the quality of life. What about, imagine life without refrigerators. If you are expected to prepare meals from scratch for your family throughout the day, you'll be chained to the home, right? So, it has made the world better. Yes, science and technology has its uses. But Gaurav said, see, it's good as a slave, not as a master. But I feel where does that line gets blurred? You get more and more and more dependent on AI. You start taking more and more shortcuts. And every word you write as an author, I feel it makes you better. Better, 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 which is why authors, even in their 70s and 80s, they're churning out the best work of their lives, And if you start using AI, you say it's just for proofreading or maybe, just to get the structure down and stuff like that. Slowly, I feel it's like with smartphones, I'm addicted to the stupid thing. It's an extension of my hand now, and you can't imagine life without smartphones, right? You do not remember numbers. We've become lousy at directions. Without Google, Guruji to guide us, who knows what the hell we'll end up doing. So I feel AI, we've watched Terminator also. We saw what happens, and I don't want to be enslaved by a lousy machine and end up in a Matrix-like world where everything's a bloody simulation, Maybe we're already in that world, who the hell knows?
Which brings me to my next question. We have many stories in mythology where overreaching power has led to very disastrous consequences. So what is that danger zone for AI development? And which mythological character would you say best describes that danger zone? Like if you step out of that zone, disaster happens.
Ravan. Ravan came to my mind,
Yes.
because that's what happened. He was so educated. He was, he had so much intellectual stuff in his head.
Granted boons to be,
Yes, but he lost out
yes.
because of, lack of empathy.
Yeah.
So that's what.
So that's Ravan.
For me.
And which is that character? Yeah. Which is that character for you, Gaurav?
I think I'll pile on her answer by
Yeah.
saying Ravan, because education without empathy and wisdom is arrogance.
Yes.
And AI will lead to have arrogance because you can immediately get your answers just by typing it out.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Thank you.
And what about you, Anuja? I mean, I'm just very interested to flesh out the characters from authors like you. Who are those characters? Because this young generation may not even have heard of. I mean, I'm sure they know about Ravan, but there are many other characters. So any other character that comes to your mind?
See, Ravan, of course, we know that about him, but actually it applies to all of them, whether it's Mahishasura or Indra. And Ravana, for all his faults, he did have amazing moments. See, because I'm from the south, and Kamba Ramayana is more sympathetic to Ravana,
Ravan.
because he was an amazing king who believed in sharing his wealth and his wisdom as well. You know, he made the Vedas accessible to everybody. So he did all that. He did have a lot of amazing qualities, but it was the power itself. He grew intoxicated on it, and it wasn't just Ravana, it was also Indra. Indra is another classic example, you know, our god of thunder, and he was the OG. In the Vedic times, it wasn't Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. It was Indra all the way, your Zeus, your Thor. So, you know, he was the OG greatest of them all. Mahadeva he was, but he screwed it all up, because the thing with power is, whether it's a god, whether it's a king, whether it's a queen, you know, it carries within it the seeds of its own destruction. So tomorrow morning, if I wake up and find myself, you know, an evil queen, the queen of the damned, I'm sure I'll be a complete jerk and having the time of my life before I blow it all up to hell.
If I may add to that, I feel, I think AI, the closest character in that sense which comes to AI is not a demon, but Yudhishthir. He had the answers to all the questions, you know. There have been many stories when he goes by a lake and a
Yes.
yaksha asks him,
Yes.
you know, answer these questions. And he answers them all, and he answers them correctly. But if you see his life story, it is filled with mistakes, because he's not applied actual life wisdom to it. He pawned off his own brothers and wife in a game of dice, in a game of Chaucer, right? So that kind of shows that even if you have all the answers, you might not know how to live life the righteous way.
Absolutely. So the one example that actually comes to my mind is because my grandmother would always tell me that in life, never create a bhasmasur, you know, who's going to ultimately come and try to decimate, finish your, you know, you as an entity. So the next thing that I would like to ask Sunita is that you have been decoding our myths and making them simple for people to understand. Would you agree that there is an element of magic, a charm of the unknown, and when you simplify, do we lose that charm of the unknown, that magic, you know, that's something that we don't know? I think that sort of, you know, enchants us, and I think that's a very important part of our mythological story. So when you simplify, do we lose that charm of the unknown?
When I simplify, I see to it that I encourage people to actually understand how much of unknown is there, you know, and my simplification is to, I should say that I'm talking of simplifying the philosophy of mythology. So the charm still remains, the unknown remains. It's just that I'm trying to show people the wisdom behind what they see. If they see a story in a linear way, I show them behind the scenes that this is the wisdom that it's carrying. So it kind of, you know, opens their eyes, and it makes the story more relatable. So I think I'm not really, you know, making anything to the unknown. I think I'm expanding the unknown. Because I now feel there is so much more to write, because every time I write a book, there's another book happening in my head, because there is so much, you know, unknown is so vast, and there is so much yet to come.
Yes, of course. Making it more relatable and more relevant is the need of the day, because we have a generation, like I said, you know,
So
Gaurav's
it's like I'm
generation,
encouraging
Anuja's
people to
generation,
explore.
they want to, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
exploring the
They're not
unknown is
as-
very important.
Absolutely,
So that's what
absolutely.
I'm trying to do through my books, making people understand and explore the unknown.
Absolutely. Anuja, you have empowered the women characters in your stories. Do you think AI will give a greater empowerment when it retells the same stories, or when it talks about the same characters?
Not at all. I think like every self-involved narcissistic author out there, I like to believe that I'm one of a kind, that I'm original, I'm quirky, and I'm doing something which nobody has done before. Of course, these are the things you tell yourself so that you don't stay in bed all day and binge watch Netflix and eat caramel popcorn, right? You have to give yourself reason to get up and go back to it. So I like to think all this. So, but while I'm aware that we are standing on the shoulders of giants and everything that can be said has already been said, I still feel I bring something to the table which is heart and soul and passion. And as Gaurav pointed out, your pain, the scars you carry, it's all a part of it, I mentioned that storytelling, it's like a living organism. And what you put in is what you will get. And AI, at the end of the day, it's a simulation. So it's worse, it's like that stuff you see in a porno, you need to know it's not real. The pleasure is feigned, then it doesn't mean that you should give up on everything because there's a simulation out there. So I don't think AI can, ever replace what a genuine artist brings to the table.
But
To add to that, ma'am, I think AI is basically like silencer in Three Idiots, whereas writers are Chatur Ramalingam, the other guy, the Funsuk Wangdu. I know he's in controversy right now, but...
yeah, no, but then I just want to know, do you fear that there's going to be this entire body of writing based on AI that's just going to sort of, decimate all the hard work that, writers like you are doing?
Outside India, ma'am, I can add a perspective to that. It's already there. Yeah. You have writers who are collaborating with ChatGPT, so as to speak, very openly so, and coming out with books. And all of them have been received horribly, not just by a counterculture which does not want to promote that product, but by readers who are reading this are just unhappy, saying that these are not great books that have come out. Unlike the rest of the world, where there's a very big cancel culture against AI, India, on the other hand, is very unique, where we are sort of promoting AI written stuff, which is, for me, it's very difficult to understand. But when you see those AI works come out, and I don't want to take names, but there have been books which have come out which are very clearly ChatGPT generated. You can figure it out by how many M dashes have been used.
Okay.
So when you see that, you realize that this work is not something which reads well because it does not have that human experience which is required to make a work readable.
Why I'm just stressing on this is we have this young audience here, and I think it's very important for them to understand the boundaries of, what they should, how they should use AI and what they should read. I think that's also...
You can make your projects with it to get marks, but if your teachers are smart, you will be caught. So I think that's the one advice I can give you guys, that use ChatGPT, as I said, as a good slave, get your way out. It's stupid not to use shortcuts when they're available because there is only so much finite time available. But don't use AI to replace the human creativity portion of it. The analysis which your project needs. If you start using AI for that, all of you will have the same answers and all of you will get the same marks, which will be 10 out of 90, right? So you don't want that. So the creativity, the analysis which you bring, that's your own element. But the other aspects of your project, I'm sure AI can help. So it's all about being a smart user of the tools.
And just to add to that, I think writing or art itself has always been an intensely competitive field, because you're not just competing with all the talent in your current generation, you're dealing with the masters from the past, and now you've thrown AI into the mix, and you also have an ADHD afflicted generation. Everyone's dependent on their smartphones. If you can't read a 120-word post on Twitter, then you're like, who's going to read a novel or whatever? So the point is, because of the competition, only true talent will survive. And true talent, it has to be the original thing, original voice, because AI, again, as I pointed out, it's not a good substitute. And in today's job market, where AI is, everything is being outsourced to AI, what do you bring to the table? What are your skill sets that make you employable? You should ask yourself that, and therefore you need to keep sharpening your skill sets, and creativity is a big part of it, because at the end of the day, though they make us mug up stuff and everything, in the real world, there's no substitute for creative problem solving. You bring that skill set to the table, then you've just beaten AI.
I'd just like to add one thing, that we all are born with native intelligence, as I call it. So we have to trust that. So any creative person would never be scared of AI, because we know that it's not going to replace us. It cannot take away our experience from us. Whatever we've gone through our lives, it cannot take it away. So any creative person, whether writer, artist, sculptor, anybody, they are not going to be scared of AI. It's the hype that's been created. Honestly, it's just the hype. Ask any writer, they are not scared of AI. Why would they be? They have confidence in their own writing. And as long as you're focused on your own writing, like, literally focus and giving your best to your work will shine. Why should you be scared? If you're going to be frittering away your energies, getting scared of AI and looking around, in any case, your book will not be good because you've already, been distracted.
Yes.
So the best is to focus on your craft and use AI, as Gaurav said, as a slave.
That is why Radhika Apte will never be insecure of Ananya Pandey.
Okay, so now coming to you, Gaurav, and this is a question that, ever since I read about Gaurav Mahanti, our very own homegrown Odia boy, who is one of the first writers of the grim dark genre in India. Now, to be very honest with all of you, and with huge apology, I did not even know what a grim dark genre was until I read Gaurav's bio, and then I read up on him, and I was so proud to know that our own Odia boy is such a famous writer and so popular amongst readers in the US and in Russia. So, a big applause, first of all, for our very own Odia boy. But, Gaurav, why the grim dark genre? Don't we have enough darkness as it is?
I think as a lawyer, ma'am, firstly, thank you so much for the kind introduction. That was really kind. I'm already blushing. But as a lawyer, we have been forced to often represent two sides of the same case, which has allowed us to appreciate that, there is no good versus evil all the time. It's not black and white. It's 50 shades of gray when it comes to personalities, right? So, and in that aspect, you realize that grimdark as a genre, what it does is, it recognizes there are no heroes and villains. There are just anti-heroes. People faced with choices, and sometimes both the choices are bad choices, and you just pick up the least worst of them all. And this is a reflection of the society we live in. For example, ma'am, I'm dealing with a case where the government wants to evict people from a society. Like, they think this is illegal construction. That family has lived there for 10 years. Now, from the family's perspective, obviously this is wrong. 10 years they have lived, they have built an entire life out there, and you're just evicting them. But from the government's perspective, if you look at it, they illegally got that land. That land can be used to make Bhubaneswar a better place, improve traffic, and have far-reaching effects that will help the city as a whole. Both sides are right from one angle. The family is like, why didn't the government then come initially? There must have been some corruption because of which we got this land, so this is your fault. Why are we being blamed for it? We gave the money to the builder as we were required to. Why should I be forced to leave my house? So when you look at these situations, you realize the nuance of good versus evil, that there is no good versus evil. Sometimes both choices are bad choices, and I think that's what grimdark does, which I wanted to bring, because I love reading these books where you know that there's no clear-cut hero. That's the thing with Mahabharata, when the reason why it is such an immortal classic is because you realize that the villains have a lot of beautiful stories attached to them. Be it even Shakuni, right, who was probably carrying out the stories as vengeance, right? Karna, a lot of people think Karna is a noble hero, but he also has a lot of flaws. Arjun has so many flaws. I think these flaws are what make all of us incredibly human. And I think this is what appealed to me about the darkness of nature.
So, at a time when we're always talking about, like this generation already, feeling very dark about everything in life. So, like, is it fair to portray darker characters as heroes?
I think so, ma'am, because I feel when hope descends from the heavens, you just shrug it off. But when hope crawls out of a pit, that's when you appreciate it. Especially with the struggles that we see around us, be it the Israel-Palestine, the wars we have, you start appreciating both the wrong sides or both good sides, and you realize that hope, that thing which Pandora's box had left, which was trapped in there, you start appreciating it a lot more when you get it through adversity, rather than just being granted as a blessing.
True, of course. So I think we have
Can I add just one little thing?
Sure.
It was very interesting to hear you. Why? Because you mentioned Mahabharata, and I have done a lot of work in Gita. Krishna says exactly the same thing. There is no black and white at all. You know, it's my truth versus your truth. It depends on where you're standing when you're looking at the truth, isn't it? So it's so interesting that, you know, here is this genre which is supposed to be dark, and here I'm writing constantly about Gita and Krishna, and we're talking the same thing.
Absolutely.
I think it's India's greatest thing that India's holiest book is in its most violent book. If you think about it, Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, right? And this juxtaposition kind of shows the dichotomy of irony, this black versus white. There's nothing like that. It's all grains in the sand.
Yes.
Mythology has always featured avatars, you know, divine beings who take human form to come and solve human problems. Will you consider AI to be that avatar that has come to solve many of the pressing problems of modern times?
I feel it's like an asura with a vardhan. You know,
Asura with a vardhan.
just Lord Brahma creating more troubles for us by granting boons left, right, and center. No, I think it's again, as this, I'm going to be repeating myself here again. It's a great tool to use, but in terms of as this whole avatar is figured to make our life easier, if AI is used in hospitals, if it is used in filing our taxes, yes, sure, it's amazing. But in the realm of human creativity, I feel it's a curse. It's going to make our minds more dependent, like the way we are dependent on smartphones already. It's going to, the thing with AI, if you write ChatGPT, you know, when you go to ChatGPT, it answers exactly what you want to know and what you want to hear. A left-wing person will get left-wing oriented answers. A right-wing person will get right-wing oriented answers, which means it will divide the world further. ChatGPT cannot be used to fact check. It gives all the wrong answers when it comes to actual history or legal cases. But you're being fed misinformation. The demon of Kali Yuga is misinformation, this fog which we have. And the books which we write are torchlights we carry through this fog. And AI on this aspect is not a torchlight, it's just a fake light which will fuse off and you'll be left in darkness, is my think.
No, it's the same view. It's like at the cost of repeating ourselves, this is what we've done to ourselves. We have created this avatar to solve our problems, and it's just that we have to be now careful that we should not be enslaved by this avatar.
I watched this film with Will Smith in it a while back. It's called I, Robot, and it's based on a story by Asimov. So out there, the reason this Will Smith character, in a world where you have AI running the show practically, people are thoroughly dependent on it, he's the lone holdout. He doesn't believe in using any of the robots and the gadgets. They explain why. There's a backstory there, like in Mahabharata. And apparently there was this time when he was in an accident with a car carrying another family, and they all are tossed into the river, and the robots jump in, and they quickly compute who has the highest chance of survival, and it's Will Smith. And in the other car, there's a little girl. He said any human being, even the worst of them, would have rescued the little girl and not me. The robot made this calculated decision. So I feel we all know that humans make lots of mistakes. In fact, we are the sum total of our mistakes. But at the end of the day, I would still pick a human to fight on my side against this asura of misinformation and whatever it is, rather than ally with AI.
Wonderful. So now to wrap up, I have my final question. If you were asked to write a myth for 2050, which human element would lie at the core of your story? Would it be love? Would it be empathy? Would it be betrayal? What would it be?
If you're speaking of myths which exist back in 2050, I think I would write about clean, breathable air. Because if you've been to Delhi, you know it's already a myth. So I think in 2050, if I'm writing a book, it'll be about a world where people don't have to wear masks or install air purifiers. And AQI is a strange word which no one knows the meaning of.
Well, in 2050, if there is going to be an AI character that I'll create, the superpower will be compassion, I think.
No, I think it would be companionship above all else, because I feel that's one thing I mentioned, that we are all getting wrapped up and increasingly isolated and alienated. I think in 2050 I'd write about this utopia where, you know, the biggest gift is a hug. or a warm conversation
Lovely.
shared over a cup of tea.
The human element.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can't do without that, whether it's 30 years from now or 100 years from now. So we have just a few minutes. Can we take a few questions from the audience, please? Yes, please. Anybody in the audience? Come, yeah.
We can hear you, I think, so
I
you
think
can
we
just
can.
stand up and ask us.
It was a very interesting session. So I used to write a little bit during my childhood. So now, as Sir said, that we can use AI as an aid, right? So what would be your opinion as writers, like taking ideas from AI? Like suppose you're facing a writer's block, or you have to write a book, but you do not know, like you're not clear with what you're going to write. Like you don't have an idea for your next book. So what would you would you prefer taking an idea from ChatGPT or AI platforms? So I'd like your opinion on that. Or people, when they are writing, they are confused what to write. So when they take opinions from that, I want like.
So there are two different questions here. One is about plot idea, right? See, idea is a uniquely human experience where you're coming up with something original. What AI does is, AI has been fed answers by humans. It takes from existing information and just vomits it out. So you will not get any new idea worth exploring from ChatGPT as it exists now. My knowledge of AI is only limited to ChatGPT, right? Now, when it comes to curing plot hooks, like you're stuck in a place and you want someone to give you ideas, what ChatGPT will do for you is exactly what a friend might do for you as well. Like if you tell them, this is where I'm stuck, it might just give you what it thinks. It might not be the best fit for your story, but that is up to you to decide. See, as I said, it's a tool, right? It will give you options. It's up to you whether to choose it and mold it to your story. So you can use it. It's just like a friend. But a friend can also come with bad advice. So just be acknowledging of that.
Any more questions?
A very nice discussion. I must thank you all for the same. I'm very old man. I think panelists are maybe younger than me.
Can't hear
We
you.
also grew up hearing stories and religious scripts. And of late, we surrendered to that. Like Pushpak Viman, we of late had the aeroplane right now. Ravana had it earlier. You believe it or not, Ram Setu still exists. Dwarika still exists. You believe or not, you accept or not. Some of the religious scripts are definitely coming up. Ma'am rightly said that you can't right now put a woman for Agni Pariksha. But I can still say, in Mahakumbh, you have seen sadhus taking bath of fire. They can still walk on the, water of Jamuna and Ganga. What I mean to say, that time the civilization reached to that zenith. Now you didn't accept God particle. Today you have started accepting God particle. Things are coming up. That means they were that evolved. But whole point is, now we are talking about short stories, small stories, novels and all. Why not a Mahabharata? Why not a Ramayana being rewritten today? With our caliber, with AI, whatever you say, with so much of education. We have never created another Mahabharata, another Ramayana for our youngsters. What's the reason?
So the retelling is actually to facilitate these youngsters to access these, literary legacy that we have, this rich literary legacy. Because, yeah, please do.
Why not another one? Because you cannot create another Ramayana, you cannot create another Mahabharata. They're timeless, pieces of... No, we can, and why? They're amazing and they're so relatable even now. That's what we are doing. We are showing people they're so relatable even now that there is no need for another Ramayana or Mahabharata. They're all around us. Ramayana is all around us. Mahabharata, the warring cousins. It was property dispute. Don't you see it around you all the time? Mahabharata is all around us. So where is the need to create another? And they have dealt with all the possible relationships and the emotional baggage that we can possibly even imagine. They've been dealt with. That's how evolved our ancestors were when they created those books.
If I may add to that, that's not actually true, because if you look at it, J.R.R. Tolkien had always had a problem that England does not have its own mythology, because they descended from Celtics. So he created Lord of the Rings saying that even England needs a Mahabharata of its own, or a Troy of its own. So he created an expansive work which we still read today. The idea of mythological classics like the Mahabharata and Ramayana is not just one book written. It's been built over thousands and thousands of years. Now, thousands of years later, maybe Sons of Darkness will survive, and that might be the mythology of that time. But we can't judge it from today's perspective, right? These whole tales, the reason why they have, I'm sure there were many other stories written. There's so many Puranas we know, but we don't know the stories as well as Mahabharata. Because Mahabharata's beauty lies in the stories, it has survived the test of time. Correct. So today's stories will become the mythologies of the future, but that only time will tell.
No, and just to add to what they both said, first of all, I think let's not compare, because the Mahabharata and Ramayana are proven texts which have stood the test of time. And another thing is we always tend to overcompensate for the glories of the past, which were probably not considered glorious back in the day. So in the present, genius is always treated like an unwanted child. We know that Van Gogh in his lifetime, he didn't sell a single painting. He lived, in poverty and humiliation. And today, you can't even afford to, you have to pay through your nose to even look at his painting, let alone own it. And it's the story of great artists everywhere that in their lifetime, they don't get it. What about Saadat Hasan Manto? He couldn't even afford to pay his own bills in his own lifetime, though he was so successful and widely read. So even I'm sure there's lots of good work being done today, but maybe in future generations they'll say, oh wow, they were geniuses, they were giants, and that person's dead and gone.
Maybe AI will do it. Maybe AI will do it, Who knows? The way AI is growing and, learning new things, one fine day there'll be another AI Mahabharata or AI Ramayana once we're dead and gone.
In fact, so if I might add just to that one point, ma'am, I'm sorry I'm taking so much time. It's that whole, artists not being recognized in that time. A lot of people here know Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, right, who have written Palace of Illusions. But she was not the first. An Odia female writer wrote Yagya Seni first. That was from the perspective of Draupadi. And she's gotten the national award as well, but no one knows her. See? So that's the whole idea.
Very well said. So I think we are now running out of time. We'll have to wrap it up. So the core takeaway, of course, being that AI at best, though has infinite possibilities, can only be a tool at the hands of the creative people who wish to choose, to ally with AI or to use AI. And the core context will always be provided by our myths and magic. And myths and magic have to be the starting point for us to preserve our great literary legacy. So thank you so much for your insights, our esteemed panelists. And I'd like a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much.
Hello. The session was truly insightful and we are grateful for your time and contribution. Now I would like to request Dr. Arpita to kindly take forward the session.
session of today. Today we'll be discussing about noise, news, narrative. Whose truth do we trust? In a world overflowing with information, social media, crossfire, and collapsing fact checks, the question of what is true has never been more urgent. Today, we explore how journalists, writers, and thinkers navigate the crisis of credibility and why ethical storytelling matters more than ever. We are honored to have an exceptional panel with us today. Our moderator for this session is Biyot Pragya Tripathi ma'am, an acclaimed Indian director, producer, and writer. She has authored 6 books spanning novels, poems, and short stories, and has produced and directed over 40 documentaries screened across the USA, UK, Netherlands, and more. Her debut feature film, Yogini, released in 2021, and she has previously won the National Award for her short film, Ladakh, The Land of Mystery. She was also adjudged the Best Female Director of a Feature Film at the London Independent Film Awards in 2021. I welcome ma'am onto the dais. Our panelists for today's session are Santwana Bhattacharya ma'am, editor of the New Indian Express Group, a 30-edition national media brand. With 3 decades in top-tier journalism, she has been resident editor of TNIE Bangalore and now heads the entire group from Delhi. A widely traveled political journalist, she has reported extensively on politics, economy, and elections with a sharp analytical lens. I welcome ma'am. Our next panelist is Apparasu Krishna Rao sir. Sir is a senior journalist, poet, and literary critic, popularly known as Krishnudu. Now, associate editor at Andhra Jyoti, Delhi, he has authored 15 books, including political biographies of prime ministers, P.V. Narasimha Rao, and a literary monograph of former Prime Minister in Telugu for Sahitya Academy. He has translated Padma Sachdev's works, earning the Sahitya Academy Translation Prize and received several honors, including the Maruti Hanumtha Rao Award, N.R. Chandur Award, Tapti Dharma Rao Award, and many more. I welcome, sir. Our next panelist is Sikta Deu ma'am, a distinguished journalist and senior news anchor with over 30 years in broadcast journalism. From Aaj Tak in 1995 to NDTV since 2003, she has covered politics, social issues, art, and culture with empathy and depth. Her coverage of Nepal's Gen Z uprising and the Mahakumbh Prayagraj documentary earned nationwide acclaim. She has led major campaigns like Banega Swasth India and Save India's Coast. Ma'am has received multiple national awards and remains a respected voice in ethical and impactful journalism. I welcome ma'am. Our final panelist for today's session is Prashant V. Singh sir. Sir is a senior editor at Times Network, leading ET Now and ET Now Swadesh Digital. With over 18 years across magazines, radio, TV, and digital media, he champions honest, fearless journalism rooted in fairness and integrity. He believes in the free exchange of ideas and lives by the principles, 2 wrongs don't make a right, and call a spade a spade. I welcome sir onto the stage. Please give a huge round of applause. We would now like to present our distinguished guests with a token of appreciation. Please keep on clapping for our honorable guests. Now, it's time that with this powerhouse panel, we shall dive into the complex world of truth, narrative, and the media landscapes that shape our society.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome all the panelists and you viewers and all the press standing here. You see, I see too much of cameras. I am an author, a filmmaker. You see, my job is to write down or to show or to answer, but never to question. I question things through my writing. And this is a place where I have to really put the right word at the right place. You know, media is, that is what my understanding of media is. So I have written down a I'll read it out because I might miss something. Actually, today we live in a time when every second, thousands of headlines blink across screens, millions of posts circulate on social media, and opinions roar louder than facts. India, home to the world's largest democracy and one of the fastest growing digital populations, now confronts a paradox. The more information we have, the harder it has become to find the truth. In today's media environment, there is not just news, there is knowledge. There is not just reporting, there is a narrative building. And most importantly, there is no singular truth. There are multiple truths, many sides of truths, curated and shaped by different persons for different purposes. In today's world, truth is no longer simple and singular idea. Every event, whether it is traditional, cultural, social, political, arrives wrapped in layers of news, noise, and narratives. So, whose truth do we believe? The government, the media, the opposition, the influencers, or the truth we want to believe because it fits our ideology? So, here today, we are here to just converge about and to attempt to explore the complex ecosystem of Indian media today, tracing how noise overwhelms news, how narratives overshadow facts, and is truth casualty in the battle for attention, power, and political capital? So, today we have such bright panelists. Let them say what they think. My first question is to Santana. So it is like in this scenario, who controls the narrative in the world where everyone can broadcast? Everyone can be a journalist, influencer. Who? It's government, algorithm. Who is it?
Okay, let me begin by thanking the organizers for having me here. The theme today, noise, news, narrative. Whose truth do we trust? It is not just theoretical anymore. You're all very young people, so I don't know whether you know, for years I've been writing on the edit page. So I write in a language which is, which may be a little difficult for you to understand, but think about it. It is about our story. It's a story of our democracy, okay? How it functions. Okay, so this proposition, noise, news, narrative. Noise, news, narrative. And where is the truth? Okay? It's not theoretical anymore. It defines the lives, reality of Indian journalism today. It defines our life and reality of Indian journalism today. We inhabit an ecosystem. You know ecosystems. Okay, when you are within a group of people who think alike and you don't want to go beyond that, right? That's an ecosystem. We inhabit an ecosystem where information has exploded, but understanding has shrunk. There's a lot of information, but very little understanding. You get my point? Noise is no longer accidental. It is most of the time engineered
Deliberate noise.
by political actors, by platforms calibrated for outrage, by algorithms, by networks whose agenda is just to confuse. Just to confuse a citizen. In this environment, truth becomes negotiable, because truth becomes negotiable. Okay, truth becomes negotiable. Because attention is so fragile now, so fragile and fragmented. And facts all the time. Facts is competing with speed, spectacle, emotions. But journalism cannot afford to be confused. Our job, our business is to do with fact. Okay? There's no scope of being confused. Our responsibility is not to mirror the noise. Our responsibility is to pick up, nor is it to ignore the noise, but to pick up the signals from the noise. Okay? We pick up the signals from the noise and then analyze and understand it for rest of the people. Truth is, and in the process we are in search of a truth, but the truth is not created by volume. How many tweets you do on a day, okay? How many followers you have, that is not truth. Okay? Truth is not derived from that. Nor is it derived from approximation of the middle ground. There are two extreme views. You point to the middle and say, this is the truth. That is not the truth. Truth is based on evidence. Okay? It is always, and that is what we as journalists keep doing. Okay? Looking for evidence.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your such a long
And I just
answer.
have a
Yeah.
small thing to say. It's very simple. We cannot reveal trust by declaring that we are trustworthy. Media is in a bit of a crisis now, right? Its trustworthiness is, so how do we regain trust? We regain trust by being transparent about our processes, about fact-checking, about being how we work. If there is mistake, you admit it is mistake. And pick up the signals from the noise that is around us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What ma'am says, that truth is, you have to check facts, and but the journalism is all about to say, discover and tell the truth. But is truth still a useful word in the time where facts can be fabricated faster as they can be verified? Are we living in the age of competing truth or competing illusion? Can news ever be entirely neutral, or neutrality itself is a narrative? Sir, this is because you are a very experienced journalist. Please do answer.
First of all, thank you for inviting me, a vernacular journalist. I have worked in the Delhi for the past 35 years, since 1991. I don't think truth has changed much. Truth is perceived depending upon your experience. Truth is perceived depending upon how do you think. Suppose you have yellow glasses, you will see everything yellow. If you have black glasses, if you see everything black. So black and white truth is never be a black and white. For me, truth means news. The real word for truth is news, because in the news we have to express truth only. So the news has no color. News has no taste. News has no masala. News is news. What you pursue, that is different. And what I write, that is different. In these days of competing period, there is a competition between journalists. Not only journalists, competition between ideologies, competition between different sections, competition between different prejudices, competition between different objectives. So people see news from their own point of angle. But that doesn't mean that truth is truth. Truth is the reality. What is the reality? We have to understand. What is the reality? We have to read between the lines. Thank you.
Okay, you said the reality, truth, you cannot manufacture, truth is truth. That is what you meant. You cannot manufacture truth. Jo sahi hai, everything which is right is right. But there is a thing called perception. There is a thing called perception. The person inside the jail, the person who is sitting outside looking at him, and that from the inside looking at this side are two different truths. So perception is very important nowadays, because we have 400 millions of influencers, billions of YouTube channels, no accountability, and they write about everything. Influencers write about everything. Today, digital media, and you people, young people, must be following all of them, about food, to travel, to politics, to whatnot, to mythology. So at this point of time, this social media, this question is to Siksha, have you, social media democratized truth or destroyed it? They are telling their own narratives, own stories, creating own group of followers, and how it is affecting the media, because now, at this point of time, everybody is a journalist. Having a, what do you say, cell phone, you are a journalist. So, how do you react to it? How you see this condition? Is truth democratized?
Thank you for inviting me for this session. And yes, the question you asked is very pertinent. First and foremost, we really need to differentiate. Here, we are all representatives of media. The journalists are sitting on this dais. You asked me a question about, are these social media influencers a big challenge for us? Yes, they are. But what I said, we need to differentiate. They are not journalists. They are doing what they want to do.
But they are changing the narrative.
They're changing the narrative in the social media. Social media and media
And
are two different branches, you know. They are challenging us with the content they are doing. They are challenging us with the quick results they are showing on for their followers. But the kind of work we do, the kind of work is expected of us as an industry is very different from the social media industry. So first and foremost, we shouldn't be compared, and we are not there to compete with each other. They are doing what they want to do. We are here as journalists, and our job is to bring the truth, bring the ground realities to our viewers, to our readers first. And that's what we have been trained as journalists since the beginning. Right now, yes, with this digital boom, the social media influencers are taking over. All the right publications and the networks have their digital platforms too. But we limit ourselves to news. We limit ourselves to the truth. Truth is a narrative. Like he said, the truth has no color. Truth is the ground reality. The facts we capture when we go on the ground, whether it's election time, whether it's any big calamity, whether it's any big news incident. We are not social media influencers that will go vlogging like they say and get quick followers. Well, that's not our job. We are here to bring about the ground realities. That's what we have trained here. Prashant has been trained here like that, and ma'am and sir and me. We all have been here for a while, and we all have been trained to bring truth first. And the organization I represent, the journalism I represent, has always been to bring about the truth. Our narrative has been always the truth, and that's what we look at. And believe me, we don't feel these social media influencers are a challenge. Though the young audience sitting here might feel that ये तो एक tap away है, click किया, and it's better to follow this social media influencer than watch a news channel or pick up a newspaper and read. Well, let me tell you all, like, that's instant. It's like 2-minute Maggi noodles. But when you want the facts and you want your fact checks, do pick up the newspaper, read the editorial, what ma'am writes, or we all do what we do in our reports. So that's where you'll get the truth. That's where the real truthful narrative will be, not in the social media platforms.
Thank you, Siksha. Let me ask you again, I mean to Prashant also, or you, anybody can answer. When you fact check, you see these days fact checks have become very difficult. There are so many stories floating, you know, I don't want to give examples. We don't want to very specific. I mean, every day you see things are happening, what is not happening, we get the news and all these things. So how to fact check, how to reach the truth, how you people do, we want to know as a common man that how to believe you, that you are telling the truth, what is that?
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. And to answer your question very pertinently, first of all, I would like to tell you that most importantly, we all are humans. We have a certain wiring. We think in a certain manner. So your topic is, whose truth do we trust?
It is. Yes.
My suggestion is that it should ideally be, whose truth do we like to trust? Because, first of all, I switch on TV. I go to a particular news channel because that news channel is what feeding me. It is in sync with my mentality. So since it is happening in the university, SOA, so first of all, in terms of fact check, when we say per se, we have to read a lot. There are lots of platforms where you can actually go and fact check. For example, there is a Google News, GNI, Google News Initiative fact check. It is GNIFC fact check. There is a tool also, Notebook LLM. There are other platforms also, Boom Live, Alt News, Fact Check. There are lots of fact checkers. But for that, you have to put in some effort. There is no replacement of effort and hard work. You have to do that. But again, do we actually need to do the fact check? We believe it so casually and in easy manner. For example, there is a saying in Hindi, जब तक सच अपने जूते के फीते बांधता है, तब तक झूठ पूरी दुनिया के 2 चक्कर लगा लेता है.
Right.
इस तरह से घूमता है झूठ.
Right.
The fake news spreads faster, much faster as compared to the truth. So first of all, we need to understand that we should always look everything with a suspicion. This is a typical advocate mentality, but in current times it is very important. Whatever you see, do not go on the face value. Go inside this story, go to the meat of it, understand what is truth, what is not. There are lots of pictures going around on the internet, which we find very comfortably. See, मैं तो बोल रहा था ना ये होगा आज नहीं तो कल. Because it syncs with your mentality. It is in sync with your mentality. You go watch a particular channel because that it is saying what you believe easily. You don't want to put नहीं यार ये ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. You have to again and again question yourself. And if you want to, there are lots of platforms. If you want to do fact check, it is very easy nowadays because if there is a threat, there is a solution also. Everything boils down to economy and money. So people are making good money by making such kind of startups, by giving tools, by giving softwares which can actually fact check at your, you are sitting at home, no need to go anywhere, you can do fact check, just you need internet and a mobile phone. And more than anything else, your mobile phone knows you. Earlier, we used to say, आप वही हो जैसा आप अन्न खाते हो. Now we say, you are what your mobile phone is. आप किसी का मोबाइल फ़ोन चेक कर लीजिए, आपको उसकी हैबिट, उसकी फूड, उसका ट्रैवल, उसकी everything you will get to know. Even you will get to know what you will never get to know. So that is the thing. So my answer is that for fact check, put in some efforts, go to the basics of the story, try to understand, do not take everything on face value, but do some effort.
Thank you. But what he said, I think, yeah, the press is here and the boys and girls are here. My understanding is you have to read. You have to do a little hard work. And what he said, two people goes for, you believe what you like to believe, truth. And when we have 400, I think, channels in this country, and you use channels, as if two channels are from two different countries. It is like, yeah.
Just to connect with everyone, if it feeds our mentality, if it promotes our mentality, what kind of thinking we have, how we go for it and fall for it and get into trap. The biggest example, I saw a very good meme during Notbandi. उसमें दो meme थे. I am streaming into Hindi just so that everybody can understand. दो meme थे. उस meme में लिखा हुआ था, एक में इस channel की, I won't name the news channels because we are here and some are employed also, and at the end of the day we are our employee ID. So the fact is, उसमें दो channel की फोटो थी, बड़े बड़े लोगो लगे हुए थे और लिखा हुआ था, जब भी आप नोटबंदी में नोट बदलने जाएं, इस चैनल की लाइन में लगे, क्योंकि इस चैनल ने दिखाया है कि नोटबंदी में लाइन नहीं है, एवरीथिंग इज हैपनिंग सो सीमलेसली. इस टीवी चैनल वाली लाइन में आप जाएंगे तो वहां पे लाइन लगी होगी. द आइडिया वाज, वन चैनल वाज शोइंग दैट देयर इज नो लाइन, वन चैनल वाज शोइंग दैट पीपल आर डाइंग.
You see, look.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Prasant. You see, things are like that. In the same place, you are sitting, and in the same place, you watching news of one place, one country, and you feel so differently. So this is very, 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 very important. That when we identify truth, normally we believe what we like to believe, but just to be neutral, I don't know, to be neutral is easy or difficult. It is the most difficult thing to be neutral. So you have to read and think, and logic is another thing to younger people. But my question to here, I think three of the journalists here are working with some institutions. Three of you are working.
Yes.
So when you work for a channel, this is my question. How are you, how pressurized you are? Because nothing can be solely neutral, I believe so. Everybody has an opinion, has a perception. So how three of you, I will answer like you, brief answer one by one from ma'am to Prashant.
I couldn't get your question.
I'm asking, you are in a system, you are working for a channel, isn't it?
No, I'm Shantana Bhattacharya. I'm editor of the New Indian Express Group.
You are working with a newspaper. Ma'am, you are working with a newspaper, a print media, working for a house, for a printing house. So you are working for a company. So how pressurized you are when you write your editorial, do news? Because as I believe, being neutral is very, very difficult in this situation. How you react to my question?
Well, there is something called editorial discretion. When it comes to print media or it is television media, there is something called editorial discretion. When you are in a position where you are choosing news, your discretion is what is paramount. You make mistakes sometimes, okay? Something you prioritize, something you don't prioritize. Those things are explainable. Okay, what we can do is we can explain why a certain news becomes a headline and why something is not a headline depends, of course, your perception of news, the news pressures of the news cycle, but it is not always that you are, at least not in the print media, you are propagating or pushing a line. That can happen. Especially when you are writing an opinion piece, that can happen because all of us are to some extent influenced by something. Okay, and you were asking about truth being lost in the fog of noise, okay, is what, if I understood that. So the truth, the question that everybody needs to understand or ask is, when you get some information, what is the evidence? Very simple. What is the evidence? Truth is not decided by consensus or decibel, how loudly you shout or how many times you shout and say it. Okay? Truth is something which is verifiable. And that is what we do. Okay? It is a very difficult situation. For example, we had a bomb blast in Delhi recently. Mm-hmm. Even before the first reporter hit the ground, a narrative and a meme was created and it was all around. Okay? We were told it was a suicide bomber, it was this attack, that attack, all kinds of narrative. So narrative is not news. Narrative is not news. News is what is verifiable as evidence, what is reported from the ground. We do need to invest in tools, what he said, tools for verifying news, because we are in an age where AI and deep fake is submerging people's perception, where they don't know, can't decide. But what everybody can ask is, what is the evidence? Okay, for instance, I'll give you a short example that Bihar election happened just now, okay? So sitting in Delhi, as we were reading the news or listening to debates on the TV channel or listening to YouTube channels, we thought that here was Bihar Chief Minister whose health was deteriorating. It looked as if he was losing his mental faculties. He was not quite there. He was not the Nitish Kumar that we knew. Okay? And this is going to affect. So there is an opening there. Okay? Opening there, so there is a fight. That election had a fight. Everybody was convinced there. And because there is a fight, when SIR was being conducted, which is the cleaning of the electoral rolls was being conducted, it was seen as something which was being manipulated. When we went to the ground, I myself went to Bihar. I've been covering Bihar election over the I think 7 elections I've covered. Okay, so when I went there, I was surprised to see that on the ground, there was no downslide on Nitish Kumar's image. In fact, there was a sympathy wave for him. This is what ground reporting can do to counter perception. Okay?
Thank
so
you.
This is what is a live example how a fog is created and ground reality is something quite different.
Thank you, ma'am. She said a beautiful thing. Ground reality and evidence. Truth is always accompanied by evidence, be it court, be it journalism, anywhere in the world. Truth is always accompanied by evidence. So it is very important. Thank you so much. And ground reality and evidence are very, very useful for truth. But still, both of you, I want to ask you the same question. Do you feel, how pressurized do you feel? Do you very honestly say, when you deliver things, when you write and all that, how it affects you? Has your own ideology or own perception has come with the perception of the place you work in?
First of all, I should say that journalists should have no ideology.
Sorry?
A journalist should have no ideology.
Okay.
A journalist
That's nice.
think about his credibility first. Truth means credibility. If your news are not credible, people won't believe you. People always brand you. You know which brand, R channel is branded what, C channel is branded what, which newspaper is branded. So these all brandings is done by the people because they know that this is BJP channel, this is Congress channel, this is BJD channel. So newspapers are divided into party lines.
Sir, that is not, my whole thing is, I'm exactly saying this, credibility means, that's what we discussed, credibility is evidence.
But
so truth is by evidence. It is hardly matters who is dedicated to what. But it's happening and this is a corporate world, people are struggling, surviving. My whole question is, how a journalist gets influenced? You see, you cannot say, I'm a person without any ideas. It is, I don't know, sir. To me, a person cannot exist without ideas. So I will like to answer people who work for them.
What I am saying is,
Siksha
what I am saying is, I am not saying that I don't have any ideology. But when I enter into a scene, when I enter as a journalist, when I write, that ideology should not reflect. Your ideology is different from what you write. So these ideological things are not new now. Even during emergency, papers are divided. Advani said about newspaper, if they are asked to bend, they are crawled. So even Rajiv Gandhi period, they said some defamation bill is there. And day by day, situation is becoming very, this thing, precarious and technology things, these are happened. It is very difficult to know what is truth and what is not. And truth is a relative word. So you have to choose what is truth. And if you are a sincere journalist, if you may ask me to write, I write whatever I see. So I don't want my ideology enter into the scene. I don't want to get myself branded.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, please.
Can I just intervene here?
Yeah, please.
I mean, every person has an ideology and some kind of sympathies and all that. As journalists, when we report news or when we choose news, we don't bring that. Okay? I may like somebody, I may dislike somebody, I may favor somebody, I may disfavor somebody, but for me, content is king. Okay? I may like, not like, okay? But when I choose, I see a news and that makes a headline. That is what I'm devoted to.
Thank you, ma'am.
But in a newspaper, there is space for that.
Yeah.
There is an opinion page where you can express your opinion.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and that is what I also wanted to tell you. What you see on the ground, say if I may feel that, oh, my liberal friends won't like it if I go and report in a certain manner. My, friends from the right-leaning will not like what you can't do that. You have to write, you have to be honest to what you see, okay? And write on that when you are reporting news. Okay?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Right.
She answered it very clearly with all clarity that write what you see and you should not,
So what
Siksha
you've been
wants to say?
asking to all of us and what both of them have said, journalists are, when they are reporting, when they are on ground, they are without ideology, without any narrative, they're reporting the facts. That's where our base is built. In a typical, like we were asking, do we feel pressurized in the newsroom? In a typical 24-hour news channel, every morning there's a news list being prepared.
Yeah.
You would find some channels playing up one thing, the other is playing up something else. Well, then those are also cross-checked on ground by the journalists and fact-checked. The reports are sent because we are television, we are TV medium, we need bites, we need visuals to justify what we are saying. So in a typical news channel, 24-hour news channel, in a news meeting in the morning, it's a discretion of the editor. You know, we want to play this up. And what have the journalists got on ground? And every story has two sides of it. This side and his side and the other side.
Right.
As a journalist, that's our job, to get both the sides on air. Put it out all there. We are not here, we are not opinion makers. Like she said, for that there are editorial pages, write opinions on that. We are here to report facts. As a channel, we are here as an anchor. Why do you see so many faces in a TV debate show, you know? So that all opinions come. Yeah, you might call it noise, but it's the noise which the guests are making, you know, that the network is not making that noise, or the publication is not making that noise. The noise is being made by those guests, those voices which have their own stories to tell. And we are giving that platform so the viewers can decide who's speaking the truth or what is the right side or the left side or whatever side they want to decide on. So that's how it works in a channel. And especially in a network, pressures are not there. The pressure is for the journalists to get facts to the table of the headquarters of the channel, and that's when it's played up. So you might feel, oh, this channel is just doing this, and while the others is speaking that. Well, that journalist must have got something else for the network to showcase. We have got this. So it's basically around that choices we make every morning, because we have very limited day, like 24 hours. Typically, we just have a news gathering of 5-6 hours. Then evening is just reflections of what we have done during the day, because we want to be before the newspapers do the big headlines.
TRP
so
I'll tell you something. It's very funny how things happen. It's not that we don't work under pressure. Prashant Kishore, PK, just before, the Telangana and Andhra election, he came to, we have a program called Express Dialogue.
Right.
Okay. He came there. Okay, we have, it was a long format Express Dialogue, so we had audience there, like we have here. So there was an audience. He told in that session that Jagan is going to lose the election, and Mamta is also losing ground. Okay. Before we had finished the conversation and we were out, news had become viral. Okay, all TV channels were running it, and we were actually proved right. I mean, that was the first time it was said that Jagan may lose. Okay. But what happened? I get a call. By the time I reach my hotel, I get a call from Jagan saying, Didi, somebody from Jagan's office. And he say, Didi, aap to aise nahi the. So I don't know why they call me Didi, because I'm a Bengali. And next day, the real Didi called me. He said, I knew you were always like that. Always. You are this, you are that. Okay. I will prove you wrong. I said, I haven't said anything. It is Prashant Kishore who was my... So these kind of things happen to us. Yes. Do we sort of give in to that? No, we don't. We were very happy that session had gone viral.
Right.
Okay.
During Bihar elections, what she said, there was a narrative built by the opposition that about the Chief Minister's health. Well, that didn't reflect in any of the voters. I was on ground. I spoke to each and every woman. It was not even that 10,000. So if you are there on ground, you will never go wrong, and your narrative will always be the facts which are being showcased on your channel, on camera, every single bite. So it all depends how you want to project it, and it's always the truth for the journalist, and it is always the ground report, which we have been working for all these years.
Thank you, Siksha. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they fight a lot of pressure, but still they're on ground reality, and that's the truth. Yeah.
So
if you want to.
Yeah. So first of all, I would like to simplify your question for the larger audience.
Yes, for the
what you are trying to ask is, if you are somebody's employee, are you under pressure? This is what you are want to ask?
Exactly.
Okay. So the answer is, I will give you an example. When I started my reporting, there was a senior writer, I will not take the name. उनके कमरे में मैं जाता हूँ. I ask him, sir, यहाँ से क्या क्या लाना है? क्या क्या यहाँ पे मिल सकता है? I was a trainee. He said one line, story ground पे निकलती है. You will get a story from the ground, not from discussing in the edit meet. You can only think and know about the larger picture of what the news is about, what it broke actually in the initial form, but at the later stage, you have to go to the ground and then report what you just see without any MDH, without any masala. So this is what the pure reporting is, but at the end of the day, we are built of two things. One is our genetics, second is our environment. We are just composed of two things, science-wise, genetics and environment. We cannot do away with. We go to the ground, we see. I have covered, why I am saying this, I have covered 2 riots. And at that time, when we were going to report, there was a formula which was launched by one South newspaper only. They said that whenever you go to any reporting of any communal riots or anything which has any religious angle, go with at least 2 bylines, joint bylines, so that by reading the byline, users should think that it is, it is very balanced. So we went with 2 reporters. दोनों लोगों ने कुछ अलग देख लिया. We were at the same ground. We were at the same story. We were doing the same thing. One was Muzaffarnagar riots. One was Akhlaq lynching. Greater Noida, and one was Muzaffarnagar. आप वहाँ पे देखिए कि दोनों ने स्टोरी कुछ और करी. We came back to office. We did a balanced story. We showed both the sides, and that is why the edit meeting after the story is very important. And that is why, if you want to understand, as a student, every university student, if you want to read the newspaper, at least read 4 or 5 newspapers. Go to at least to the national page. If you don't have time, please try to extract some time from your reels time and then dedicate to the newspaper. Go to at least front page. You will understand why edit meeting is very important. Everybody thinks, as a human, as Sir said, that for no idea, I think a little different. I think as a human, if I am acting as a journalist, I am not an actor, I am a journalist. When I am a journalist, I have to deep dive into a story. I see many things. And when you're writing something, it is very natural that that flavor comes into also in your writing as well. So at least read at least 3 newspapers are very important. Also, always go to opinion pages as well, op-ed pages. You will get to know that what this particular newspaper thinks like. What the management, the editorial, what they are actually composed of, how diversified they are, what kind of journalistic portfolio they have. So that is the thing. As of now, till the time I came here, I did not get any guidance from my company that you have to say this, you have to do this, you have to cover this news like this. First of all, 5W, 1H should be there in the story. That is always a fact. And as soon as you give in the first para, second para, whatever, that will be a very, very good justice to the audience. And at the end of the day, this is our biggest Chief Justice of India in terms of journalism. They will decide what we are doing, if we are doing good. But contrary to this, we spoke about noise also. But if you go to J schools, journalism schools, 70 or 80% of people are attracted to that noise, and that is why they are taking this journalism as a career. Very less people want to go that I want to go into research and this. So the crux of the story is, if you want to get into this profession, read a lot. Second thing is read a lot. Third thing is refer to the above 2 things, read a lot. These are the only 3 things.
Thank you. He gave such a beautiful answer for all you girls and boys, because you see, journalism is not narrative and noise. They call people to create noise for you to know the truth when there is big fights in channels and all that. And reading and journalism is hard work. Journalism is ground journalism and not ringing people. These days we get calls, आप बता दीजिए क्या है, 4 question भेज देते हैं, and all that, this kind of journalism. But what we hear, these people, it is hard work, it is ground reality, it is reading, it is a lot more than what you think. And now we have time, I mean, it's time to wind up. And this is a good discussion because you see, journalists, we have many ideas that people think they are this bent, but you have to read, like he said, 5 newspapers you read to know what exactly it is. 5 channels, so you have to reason out according to your understanding, and again, what you like to believe. That is a big thing. What you like to believe and what you believe and what happens. So there is a...
I just want to just say something positive.
Yeah?
We are, our profession is in crisis, no doubt, and we are not in competition with, social influencers. They may overwhelm us, but, we have the tool and the rigor, and we also do something like looking down on people. Okay, so that also we do. Because we see things as they happen. Okay, we are the first recorder of events. Okay, as they say, it's like a job of a bard. But I'll tell you, the journalism may be in crisis, but as I was coming here, and I was having a conversation with our resident editor, our Orissa resident editor in Bhubaneswar, and I asked him what is the big story that our editions have done, and I was very proudly want to share with you. We did a series on, and that is the power of journalism, series on reserved forests. Reserve forests on infrastructure projects and roads being built around reserved forests, and the harm it was doing to the tigers there and the wildlife. Because of our intensive, honest reporting, that project was revisited, and it has been, there has been an alternative which is being looked at. That is the power of journalism. Journalism can still impact, bring change if it is done in the right way. And I would also say that, the New Indian Express is one of the rare papers which has single paper readership. People who read our paper, we may not have a big circulation, but people like Krishna Rao's paper. But we have a presence all around, but there are people who read our paper and don't read any other paper. Okay, that is brand loyalty, and that comes from credibility. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
I want to sum up,
please,
in my own way. What she said, she was my editor too. I earlier worked as a resident editor in the New Indian Express, Hyderabad. So whatever she says is correct. She said is journalism is in crisis. I agree, journalism in crisis because people don't know what journalism is. Whatever it comes in WhatsApp, whatever it comes in social media. I thought first social media will take over the journalism because many people are going on the roads, reporting the events. I thought that is a good development. But I am thinking that even social media is taken over by such crooks and market forces, such untrustable people. They are making use of social media for their evil designs. Because of that, journalism is in the crisis. Don't believe whatever happens, the headlines in the social media, YouTube journalism. That is as a news. That is not real journalism. Real journalism, you should think. You take what is wrong or what is right. You read everything and decide, and you understand the between the lines. That's what I say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your all this advice and tell these young people. And journalism can really change things. What ma'am said, that for Regia Forest, those roads, they revisited the program, and it's a big thing for environment, for everything. So being honest is the only way to survive. If AI comes, or it is be literature, be cinema, be journalism, you have to be honest and original, both. Both. You should be honest, and your words should be original. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for all of your such beautiful insight to know about journalism, and for a common person like me and for students like you. Thank you all. Please give them applaud, because I think the discussion was so good that nobody remembered to clap because everybody listened. So please, big round of applause. Huge.
Thank you to our moderator and panelists for an insightful hour. Today's discussion reminded us that truth isn't just reported, it is built, questioned, challenged, and protected through responsible storytelling. As we leave this hall, may we continue to listen critically, speak responsibly, and uphold the values that keep journalism meaningful. Thank you on behalf of SOA.